Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. This episode of Everyone Loves Guitar is brought to you by Taylor Guitars and their new Grand Pacific Round Shoulder Dreadnought. Powered by Taylor's breakthrough V-Class bracing system, the Grand Pacific gives you a warm, seasoned sound with clear low-end power and notes that are stronger, longer sustaining, and more in tune with each other all the way up the fretboard. Make sure you check it out online at taylorguitars.com, then go out and play one today. That's the new Grand Pacific at taylorguitars.com. Did you know if your instrument or any of your gear is damaged, broken, or stolen outside your home, your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover any of it? That's right. Homeowner's insurance only pays if something happens inside your home. But Music Pro Insurance insures all your music gear, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, even when you check it in as baggage on an airline. Here, let me give you some examples. Let's say you're in a car accident and your equipment is damaged, you're covered. Your kid pours apple juice into your amplifier, covered. Someone spills beer all over your pedal board at a gig somewhere across the world, boom, you're covered. Any kind of theft or accidental damage is covered, even water damage from hurricanes and breakage from earthquakes. But here's what makes Music Pro really different. They're not going to argue with you over the value of your instrument or make you run around looking for receipts when it comes time to paying your claim. They know exactly why your vintage instrument is worth 10 times more than a new one. Plus, all claims are typically paid and fully settled in 24 to 48 hours. So if your equipment is not insured properly, go to musicproinsurance.com, hit standard, then enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. Don't be that player who ignores this, and then next month when something happens, you're wondering why you didn't take 10 minutes to do this properly. Make sure you go to musicproinsurance.com, enter your information, and get a free gear protection estimate. If something happens, you will be thanking me. Trust me on this. musicproinsurance.com. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I've got a super cool, really special episode today. We're here with Brandon Mendenhall, who's the star of a movie called Mind Over Matter, and Sebastian Paquet. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes, sir.
Who is the director of the movie. And I really want you to watch this movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's basically the biographical documentary of Brandon's life. Brandon was born with cerebral palsy, and he overcomes basically a paralyzed left hand, bullies, and stereotypes. And amongst all this, his dream is to become a rock guitarist, even while his doctors told him he'd never succeed. So he gets inspired by the band Korn, who I had Ray Luzier on the show several weeks back. And Brandon makes his dreams become reality as he winds up leading his own band and expressing himself through music. The movie was released on the 25th of January on Sumerian Films, which is the film division of Sumerian Records. Besides Brandon, the cast includes James Munky Shaffer, Jonathan Davis, and Brian Head Welch, obviously from the rock band Korn. The movies won a shit ton of awards. They won the Los Angeles Documentary Festival Award for Best Cinematography, Best Screenwriting, and Audience Award. They were the official selection of the Bentonville Film Festival. I actually know that's it. That's Arkansas, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The Bentonville Film Festival, they were the winner of the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival. They were an official selection of the Real Abilities Films Festival in New York, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh. They won the Sacramento Film and Music Festival for Best Documentary Feature and Audience Award. They won the Desert Rocks Film and Music Festival for Best Documentary Feature Award. And they won the Breaking Down Barriers International Disability Film Festival for Best Documentary Character Award. So I really want you to pay attention. It's a great movie and it's a very touching story. And I might get a little emotional here and I'll explain why in a bit. All right. So first of all, congratulations, both of you guys. I cannot imagine the amount of energy that went into making that movie, but to have it come out so great and how many awards you've won, it was amazing. The movie actually stirred up a lot of compassion and empathy in me, and I'm sure in basically everybody who watched it. And Brandon, we spoke earlier, but congratulations and all the respect in the world for not giving up and for your tenacity in fighting against all the bullshit you've had to deal with, man. And
thank you.
Especially as it relates to dealing with the ignorance people have towards you because of your disability. I'm really proud of you, and I'm really, really happy for you. So for the listeners who aren't familiar with you and your story, if you could just tell them who you are, the environment you grew up in, and also talk about cerebral palsy and like maybe what it is and how your particular case of cerebral palsy impacts you. Because I think for people who aren't familiar with a certain disability for anything, disability, addiction, I think it's one of those things that people feel like, oh, it's other people, I don't have to deal with it. And, that might be true, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have understanding and compassion of it. So I'm turning this over to you.
Yeah, well, I'm Brandon Mendenhall. I play guitar for the band The Mendenhall Experiment. I was born with cerebral palsy, and my particular case of cerebral palsy affects my left side. It affects my eyesight, my motor function and coordination, my gait, the way that I walk, and most importantly, in the film, it affects my left hand was basically paralyzed. So for me to pick up an instrument so intricate like guitar, it was really a challenge for me to find my way around it. And for those that don't know, cerebral palsy is a neuromuscular disorder that usually occurs at birth. In my case, I was born 2 months premature, and when I was born, the cord was wrapped around my neck, causing lack of oxygen, and they tried to clear it out, and so on and so forth. But when I was 2.5, 3 years old, they finally realized and diagnosed me with cerebral palsy.
Thanks, man. For people who don't know your story, again, can you explain like how the band Korn is relevant to all of this? Because that was a big turning point for you emotionally and musically.
The first time I heard a Korn record, everything in my life, everything changed, And when I heard that record, it gave me a direction. And when I was lost as a kid, I didn't know if I wanted to do this or do that. And everything I tried to get into, like karate, I wanted to be a firefighter at one point. Every kid has these crazy dreams like BMX and the NHL at one point. And it's like, I have cerebral palsy. I'm not physically built to do any of that stuff. But when I heard that first Korn record, it gave me a direction. And it gave me an outlet emotionally for what I was dealing with cerebral with cerebral palsy, and then I got into guitar because of Korn and Munky and Head. They were and are my biggest influences in music, and the guys that really made me want to pick up an instrument and pursue it. So, I owe them everything. They've kind of stepped up and helped guide my career, and I'm eternally grateful.
How did you guys meet, and like, what was the decision-making process involved in, like, hey, let's turn your story into a movie?
We met about 15 years ago. I was born in France. I had just moved to Los Angeles, California, with big dreams to make it as a filmmaker here in the US. And Brandon had moved that exact same month across the nation from small town Illinois to LA with his big dream himself to make it as a guitar player and try to establish his career over here in California. We met at a Korn event, and we noticed many things that we had in common. We both had a huge drive and passion for what we wanted to accomplish in life, and we just became friends right away. And 10 years deep into our friendship, we decided to build an alliance, and for me to start following him around for the next 5 years to really try to capture his life story on film and to create this beautiful, inspirational documentary that you have now in 2019.
How much time, like in a day? I mean, because you got your regular job life, and now you got another job, which is a lot more than a job because you got a huge commitment in there emotionally. How much time was involved in like following him around and tracking Brandon down and everything he did, basically?
It was a lot. I moved to the US here with the big dream of working for the band Korn, which I actually managed to make happen a few years after moving here. So I was on tour, a lot with those guys, traveling to Australia, South Africa, Europe, you name it, just documenting their everyday life as their personal photographer and videographer. So essentially, the second that I would land back in LA, I would jump into my car and go to his place and start, brainstorming and shooting stuff. We went as far as flying all the way to his small town, Illinois, to interview everyone in his life as a teenager and as a kid and as an infant, the mayor of the town, the grandparents, the parents, the high school teachers, the ex-girlfriends, and so forth. I totally immersed myself into his life so that the viewer could feel like they are walking or limping beside him as he is walking through life and try to make it as a rock and roll artist.
Let me ask you this, and if this is like uncomfortable in any way, but you don't have to answer it. When he got into some dark periods of using, man, that must have been difficult for you to sit there and film some of that.
It was heartbreaking, especially considering that I'm a super hardcore sober person myself. I've never had a drink or never had a smoke in my life. So for me to witness one of my best friends going through that, it was even difficult for me to comprehend, because I don't have any attraction to any of those substances. But he managed to get through it, and it's a part of the story. It's a part of his life. This story is about overcoming many things. His disability, most and foremost, but also overcoming addiction and what he had to go through when he first moved here to LA. When you move here, you just want to be a part of the gang, and it's very easy to fall into those traps, and he did. but he came back on top. And if you watch the film, you'll see how much he's blossoming as a person and as an artist today.
I
Brandon?
was, I was really good at hiding it too. So I don't think Seb really realized what I was into or how bad it was until we were in production of the film, and we got into a conversation, and he was like, "There's like a middle part missing, like, And I kind of told him how bad it got, and then he's like, "Okay, that's the middle piece that we needed." And I kind of had to open myself up and spill all that out and be honest and truthful. And that was hard for me, man.
Yeah. That's so weird, an addict hiding their using.
Yeah, because here he is, he was touring around the world with my favorite band, and I was at home in LA. Like, his career was blossoming at that point, and I was at home in LA going through all these different surgeries and doing all these crazy drugs to alleviate my pain and anguish. And, I didn't want him to know that I was going through all that. Yeah. So I did. I hid it the best I could. And I think he was kind of shocked when I opened up Pandora's box. He said, "Hey."
Well, that's tough I have experience with that, to be honest with you, not using, but being around, people I'm close to that have addiction issues. And, for somebody who's not like, familiar with anything like that, there's no frame of reference for like Sebastian. There's no frame of reference to like draw on for that. It's like raising a kid. You kind of there's no frame of reference, but it's like you've been around babies. But when all of a sudden the drug stuff, it's like, what? So it's a hard thing to like comprehend.
Yeah. Exactly.
Your story, and we talked about this before we started, it was very emotional for me because my son, as I mentioned, he has CP. My middle son, I have 3 kids. He's my middle child. He lettered in 3 sports, and I was really honest with him when he was little. I told him that, I said, Casey, when people see you have a physical disability, because he's a jock of all things, he's my sports kid, and he was an athlete and wanted to do all these things, but he was limited. But I told him, I said, look, unfortunately, when people see you have a physical disability, they're going to automatically assume, and we talked about this before, that you have a mental disability also. So I told him that you're going to always have to work twice as hard just to get on a level playing field. And you said the same thing in the movie. And you said it before we were talking, you said people see the disability first, and then they see you as a person, maybe. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what my grandfather said to me was, you're always going to have to work twice as hard as the guy next to you, because you just got to overcome your physical disability just to be level with everyone else. And that's also where we got the title of the film from. My grandfather would always say, you don't have a physical body to do physical labor like I do, so you're going to have to use your mind. But you can do anything that you put your mind to. And he would always say, mind over matter. And, when Seb and I were kind of searching for a title for the film, it just kind of popped out. And I told him the story behind it, and we both said, that's it. But people suck, man. I think Slipknot got it right. People equal shit. And there's a lot of people in the world that they suck. And they look at you and, they judge you by your appearance, they judge your clothes, what kind of car you have, how much jewelry you have. If if you're physically different like we are with cerebral palsy, it's like, oh, that kid can't play sports. He can't like get a girlfriend or like, have a sense of a normal life, and they always put us behind the eight ball. And, that's what I experienced growing up. And myself, I was really into sports. I love hockey. I love basketball. I was on the basketball team all the way through grade school, but I wasn't a player. I was just like a managerial assistant. But I got my letters for it. But, that's not being a physical athlete. So I commend you, son, for going through all that and being able to do it. Because I never played physically, but yeah, people always see your disability, and then maybe they'll see you as the person that you really are.
Yeah.
And that's with my band, the Mendenhall Experiment. That's our whole thing. That's the main focus of everything, is to go out there and use the band as a platform to show people, like, look at the person first, and the disability is just an afterthought. And to teach people that, people with disabilities are much more capable than society gives them credit for.
Yeah. In the movie you talked about, being bullied, and I know my son, he was lucky because his older brother, my older son, they were only a couple of years apart in high school, but they would come home and I remember Nick would tell him, my older son would say, man, this kid was picking on Casey today, and I had to, kick his ass basically, because people would like throw him. I mean, what it's like,
yeah.
man. He's got no leverage, so they would take his weakest point, his legs, and throw him or push him, and it's like, fuck, man, So Nick had to just go in and, I was grateful that my older son was watching him.
I had a lot of friends like that would, if anybody would fuck with me, they'd fuck them up basically. But there was a lot of people that would, just push me and trip me and shove me in the walls, shove me in the lockers. One kid gave me a concussion one time. I was walking down the hallway with my book bag, and he just kind of pushed me. And like, I have CP, so my balance is you just push it the right way, and over you go. And my head went straight into the concrete wall, and I ended up with a concussion because of it.
God,
man. So yeah, people were just, typical kids in high school picking on each other, but, because we have a disability and, we get the brunt of it, and that shit sucks.
Man, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. In the movie, you made a comment about, I'm going to live my life as if my disability does not exist. What was the trigger for you to start feeling that way and then to make that commitment to start living that way?
That's something that I came up with when I was like 5 years old. When I was literally, I'd come home from a bus stop crying because everybody would pick on me and trip me. And I remember multiple times being in a circle of kids, and they would take their book bags and like hit me with them, like a fucking gauntlet. And so I would end up walking down the street to my house, and I would go in my room and cry and be like, what is my purpose? Why did God make me this way? Why do I have to go through this? And that's when I kind of vowed that fuck these people and fuck this condition, because I don't want it. I don't want this disability. So I'm going to live my life like it doesn't exist. And that's a pretty profound thing for a 5 or 6 year old to come up. to come up with. But I was honestly, I was that young, and I was angry and I was upset. But I just told myself that I'm gonna live my life like this doesn't, like I don't have this. So that's the only way I'm gonna succeed.
And I think what happened is that a few years later, or a decade later actually, when he found refuge and solace in music, he really used the guitar as the way to rehabilitate his hand, but to rehabilitate his life as well.
When you were challenged at times, because that is a pretty profound thing. That being said, as a kid growing up, you only have so many coping skills. When you were, I mean, all of us, when you're at times when you were challenged, how did you like sort of get through that and tell yourself, no, I'm going to, you know, how did you hang on to like that faith that I've got to do this? Because I know it was tough.
Like, I just kept telling myself that, like, you know, just keep pushing forward, especially when I was really young. And that was before the guitar. But once I found music, like Sebastian said, you know, that became my salvation, so to speak. And, you know, the heavy music in my albums I was into became like my emotional therapy for living with cerebral palsy. And once I was able to put a guitar in my hands, that became my physical therapy to rehabilitate the physical aspects of my left hand. And it really gave me a purpose to use my hand, because I never used my left hand for anything before I took up the guitar. But when I first got my guitar, I just put my hand on that fretboard and I forced my fingers to begin to move individually, one at a time, you know, but all of that while practice ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. You just ran it back and forth. And you know, it took like 3 years, and then I was able to move my hand, or at least a couple of my fingers, individually enough to where I could do the flat chords, and begin songwriting, which was the most important thing to me.
You know, when I listen and talk with people like yourself and people like my son, you know, it's such a great example of why anybody has no fucking excuse to say, I can't, fill in the blank, whatever, because you can do anything you want. You may not be able to do it at a level of you're the best in the world, but, you know, with rare exception, man, there's certain little increments you can make in your life that do make you feel better about your capabilities. And you're just such a great example of that, man.
I think with me, particularly with guitar, I think, you know, there is a level of limitation there. Like, I'm not going to be a Steve Vai or Dimebag or Eddie Van Halen type, because my hand's just not built that way. But I strive to be the best at what I'm capable of. I think I have a very unique playing style, and I strive to be the best in the world at that.
And that's all you could do, man. You know, that's all we could all do is to be the best we can. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I took away, there's a famous quote from Steve Vai that really is going to help me throughout this whole process. He said, focus on your strengths and ignore your weaknesses. Yeah. And him being so vast on the instrument, to hear him say something like that, you know, I've kind of carried that as almost an archetype for what I do. I focus on what I'm good at I ignore the fact that I can't do 30-second note runs up and down the neck, you know?
I think that's good wisdom, man. Hey, so both of you guys, you both moved, Sebastian, you moved from France to LA, Brandon, you moved from Illinois to LA. What were the biggest cultural differences in coming to LA? You're laughing. We need a separate podcast just to discuss that, right?
So where are you from? Where are you based out of?
I'm in Tampa, Florida. I'm from New York City originally. I'm from the Bronx.
Okay, so you're from New York and you're still on the East Coast. So coming to LA from small town Illinois, and let's be clear, I grew up in a beat up trailer park straight off the 8 Mile. So I grew up in a trailer park with a bunch of redneck Illinois kids around me, and not the greatest family situation either. God bless my grandparents. I love them, and they did the best they could for me. But there were times that my home life wasn't the best. So moving from that small town rural area to the mega metropolis of Los Angeles, what was the biggest shock? I don't know, man. Everything. You say the words culture shock. Well, I think the biggest thing moving to LA is the implementing of actual culture. Like, I'd never experienced different cultures before. Right. It was everything was always kind of in one box and one shade.
Yeah.
And you move to LA, and you have all these different ethnicities and cultures and food, and it was just a whole new world. It was awesome, and I still love it.
That's great, man. Sebastian?
For me, I mean, moving across the globe, moving from, France all the way to California, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is the language, Yeah. I taught myself how to speak, just like Brandon taught himself how to play the guitar, I taught myself how to speak the language by watching American TV shows in France with subtitles, watching Friends and 90210, whatever I was watching as a teenager in France. So, and it was my big dream. I wanted to live the American dream, even though I was born as a French citizen. I wanted to experience the American dream. I wanted to move across the globe. I moved by myself, no one with me, just one big suitcase with a few clothes and mostly a bunch of CDs in it, because music was the soundtrack to my life. I was, almost living the American way when I was living in France. I was mostly speaking English and not much French, because I just wanted so bad to live in the US, and I wanted English to be my first language pretty much. So, it was a huge culture shock on so many levels to move all the way here, but I'm living the dream every day, and this film is the greatest accomplishment of my career and my life. And this entire project started with 2 friends and a camera, and now we are definitely brothers for life. And we have this beautiful, very inspirational film that we are both really proud of, and we cannot wait to share with everyone.
I want to add one thing. You said it's the biggest accomplishment of your life so far.
So far.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, man. Yep.
I think what Sebastian said, I just want to add, I think the underlying theme of this film is that of it is the American dream. Mm-hmm. I moved all the way from small town Illinois to be a rock star, and he moved all the way here from Paris, France to be, a big film director. And he's doing it just as well as I'm doing it. So it's, I hope people enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.
I don't see how you can not enjoy this movie. This is a redemption story. I mean, this is just a great story in every aspect, man. Brandon, since this is a guitar show and you're a guitar player, tell us what's your go-to guitar right now, and what other couple of guitars would round out your top three? I know you probably hate talking about gear.
Oh, I'm the epitome of a gear junkie. If you can't tell by all the guitars on my wall. My favorite guitar right now is the Ibanez FR series. It was given to me recently by the company. I recently acquired an endorsement deal with them, and
awesome.
That's my main go-to axe with EMG X's 81, 85. I love everything about that guitar. And then my two other ones that I really love is that I recently acquired like an H.R. Geiger RG series, also Ibanez. So that's kind of going to be like my third go-to option on the road coming up here. And then, a guitar I always have in the studio and probably will always be with me. I plan on taking it to my grave is my 2008 Gibson Les Paul Silverburst.
Yeah, I love those. Those are pretty, man.
It's been with me on every recording session with the guitar that I wrote. A lot of the early TMX stuff on. I played the Aftershock Festival with it. In the studio with Munky with it. It's I love that thing. You always gotta have a Les Paul in the studio. But back to the FR, that thing is awesome. It's kind of a mix between a Telecaster and a Les Paul kind of tone. So I dig it. It will be my number one for quite a while.
What are you playing through usually?
I love PV. The 6505 Plus series. And then I run through Mesa 4x12 cabinets.
Very cool, man. Thank you. Funny, I have a PV too. It's a Delta Blues. It's a different kind of deal, but I love the amp. It's great.
Yeah, man. I'm a minimalist. I keep it really simple. So I've got my head, my cabinet, a noise gate, a fuzz pedal, and a tuner. And that's basically it. The tone that you're hearing is coming from my hands and the amp. So
very cool. I think whenever you go through like a super intense experience, you get some takeaways. And if you're paying attention, it's probably some personal growth as well. And I was curious what each of you have gotten from this experience. Like, has it changed you at all? Or what kind of milestones, personal development wise, did you feel you each reached or accomplished or experienced?
I mean, I've watched my career like blossom and transform itself over these last 5 years. That I think there's almost too many good things to point out. All the things I've done with the band, with the record deal, with the recording a song with Munky, to all the tours that we've done, to all the press that we've gotten. It's like, but I think one thing to take away from all of this is that we started this movie as two friends and a camera with a purpose of inspiring and helping other people. That has always been the ground foundation to this film. We want to make this film and tell my story to help others, so that maybe what other people with disabilities are going through, if they're going through the same bullshit that I went through growing up, or that your son went through, that maybe this gives them hope and inspiration and strength to kind of pull themselves up and keep going.
I could go on and on about the accolades and the awards and getting flown to Moscow, Russia to attend a film festival and to get an award over there. I could go on and on about the 425 people who sold out our Los Angeles red carpet premiere in Beverly Hills. I could go on and on for hours. But the one thing I take away from the last 5 years is the growth of Brendan as a person and as an artist. He has really blossomed, and I'm so proud of him. He has inspired me in so many ways to create this film, but to just be a better person as a human. And it is my only hope that he can have the exact same effect on each and everyone who watches this film.
Thanks, man. I can't see not, to be honest. I mean, you'd have to have like no soul to not feel inspired by this. Both of you, or either of you, who's had the biggest influence on your life musically and then personally?
I think for me, it's always been Munky and Head musically, and Munky probably more so because him and I have become really close with this film and doing all this and making the press. We've really gotten to strengthen our bond and our friendship through all this, and he's my mentor through this whole crazy process of the music industry. But beyond him, I get all my work ethic and all my drive from my grandfather. And I don't think without him in my life, even though he was hard on me, I wouldn't be the person I am today without him.
On my end, some obvious choices and obvious answers come to mind. Korn obviously changed my life as a teenager for personal reasons, and then were kind enough to have me become a part of their band and be on the road with them for 11 years, documenting their everyday life. Kurt Cobain for changing the landscape of music and really inspiring me to immerse myself into art and music. Michael Jordan, an incredible athlete who really proved to everyone that sky is the limit, because he was a human who could actually fly. But more importantly, I think my mother is a huge inspiration to me. She was diagnosed with MS when I was 9 years old. So that gave me a particular, that's one of the reasons why Brendan's story resonated with me, because of, I took care of my mother pretty much by myself for many years before I moved across the globe. So, I had a particular affinity for people like that who are struggling and who are facing a medical or physical condition. So, that's a testament of my relationship with him.
Thanks, guys. Toughest decision that you ever had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Probably saying goodbye to my grandfather and having to be one of the decision makers on actually pulling the plug and taking him off of life support. Because I knew the moment we did that, I knew what that meant. And, I was kind of I was the next in line. So they all kind of looked to me and they were like, well, this is what we want to do. Do you agree with it? And, having to make one of those decisions that it will stick with you for the rest of your life.
That is heavy shit. And I had interviewed a bass player, maybe a year and a half ago, and he had to do that's really heavy shit, man. Yeah. Sebastian, what about you?
On my end, same thing. The most important thing in life is family. So for me to move across the globe and to leave my entire family behind, and to move all the way out here by myself, and leaving my disabled mother, quote unquote, behind, for me to try to accomplish this crazy dream, it was very, very, very difficult. Many people doubted that I could make it, but thankfully I did. But still to this day, she's beyond proud and super happy that I made that decision. So I guess it was the right decision to make.
Well, congratulations to both of you guys. Those are tough things to do. What's next for both of you guys? Both related to the movie and outside of anything that has to do with mind over matter. And also, Brandon, if you could let us know what's going on with the Mendenhall experiment and where people can find you and, all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course. I think what next for us is what you're going to see from the Mendenhall experiment for 2019 is a whole lot of touring. Touring is our main focus for this year. We'll be out on the East Coast, in Upper East Coast, in April with Flaw as direct support. And then we're currently in the studio working on the follow-up record to our EP. And then, you'll see that record come out probably midway through the year, maybe a couple music videos to support it, and then we're just gonna be on the road. That's our focus, is to be out there and play.
Very cool, man.
If you want to find my band, it's the mendenhallexperiment.com. You can find everything and anything to do with us there. All the links to our social media is there. We're everywhere. mendenhallexperiment.com.
Awesome. And if you ever come down here, please let me know. Love to connect with you, man, and come see you play.
For sure. We just did a tour through the Southeast. In December, we came through with Smile Empty Soul and Co-op. So hopefully we'll be able to come back that way. We did 5 shows in Florida. So.
Did you play Tampa? Did you probably play at Ybor City?
No, we I don't think we came close to Tampa. We played Newport Richie. We played Destin. We played Tallahassee, and we played Longwood, and one other one. It's escaping me.
Yeah, you did the northern part. Newport Richie's about an hour away. It's not bad, but sounds like
Jacksonville.
Yeah,
we played Jacksonville.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Sebastian, what about you? What's next for you?
When it comes to the film is available now on DVD and all of the digital outlets of the world, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and so forth. You can order your copy now at mindovermatterfilm.com. We're in the middle of this gigantic press tour, talking up this film with everyone, and we're grateful to be on your program today. And I don't know what's next. Probably another music doc.
You would. You'd follow somebody else around for 5, or not somebody else, but you would entertain another That is so tough, man, to make documentaries, isn't it?
It is a labor of love, and it's a labor of love that doesn't pay, but the rewards from the rewards of
it's
people who are vibrating with this story and who are really feeling it. It's much greater than a check for $1 million. So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And where can people? Hold on one sec, Brandon. Where can people find you and what you got going on?
You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Sebastian Paquet.
And let me spell his last name because nobody's going to know how to spell Paquet. It's Sebastian Paquet. Paquet. Brandon, I'm sorry. Oui. Brandon, what were you going to say? Sorry about that.
No, I was going to say, I meant what I said when I said we need to sell about 5 million copies so that I can actually see a profit from this.
Well, let me sum this up and see if we can help towards that. First of all, I want to say thank you guys very much. Thank you for making the movie. Thank you for having the balls to do everything you've done and will continue to do. Brandon, like I said, I really resonated with you. This episode is dedicated to you and to my son, who I love dearly, who's lettered in 3 sports in high school, and he's just a great kid. And to everybody else who's got a disability and who's trying to do better, man. So thank you. I really want everybody to watch this movie because I think it's going to make you feel really, really good. It's a tremendous story. It's a beautiful story. It's very emotional. And like Sebastian said, you can get this on all digital outlets. It's available on Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, and you can also go to mindovermatterfilm.com. You could find both of these guys on social media. And again, it's Brandon Mendenhall, Mendenhall, and his band is the Mendenhall Experiment. It's Brandon, Brandon, Sebastian, Sebastian, Paquet, Paquet, and mendenhallexperiment.com is where Brendan's band is. Before I say goodbye, anything else, guys?
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
We love guitar.
Thanks, guys.
I just want to say thank you, and since it's a guitar-based show, is there anything, like one last guitar-related question that you may have that you want to share with people?
Yeah, man, what would you like to talk about? You tell me. You probably got something in your mind, it sounds like. So
I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a question in mind, but I thought maybe you would. So
how about, like, is there anybody that influenced you that people would be surprised to hear?
Wow. Yeah, Keith Richards, and not because of the crazy party, miss, but like Keith Richards is who I picked up the style that I have from, because he would tune his guitars to an open chord so that he could play like lackadaisical with the Stones. So that was kind of the doorway that opened up everything for me and my guitar playing. When I was really struggling to play like the standard power chords, I read that in a book and I was like, oh man, that's what I need to do. I need to alter the tuning of my guitar, and then I can just use like the 1 to 2 finger chord movement to get around my disability. I found an alternate way, which is also a key point of the film. If you can't do something one way, find another way, because there's always another way to do something.
Thank you, man. And you're 100% right. Everybody check out Mind Over Matter at Mind Over Matter Film and Mendenhall Experiment. It's mindovermatterfilm.com, and it's all available on all digital outlets. Thank you guys for everything. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels, and please share information about this movie. Not because these guys need to sell 5 million copies, because it'll make you feel good. Although I'm happy to sell 5 million copies. Thanks to Brandon Mendenhall and Sebastian Paquet for spending time with us. I genuinely appreciate it, guys. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.